Hello everyone, welcome back to Rolling Solo. My name is Adam Smith. Today we're going to be going through the second part of the solo setup video. This is going to be for our second character. I'm really excited for this. Hopefully this will help. It'll be a little bit quicker than the last video because we've already gone through the major points, so I'll move through it a little faster, but we still got a lot to cover because there's a lot of story behind each character in terms of their development. And of course, I want to grab your feedback on it as well. So let's get right into it. We don't have to read the rules this time around. We can go right to the character creation book. We're creating our second character. We are going to be going with not a human, not an orc. We already have one orc in play. We're going to be going with a dwarf. Because the dwarf was a high suggestion across the board in the last video. Not the last video, but the unboxing video where I asked you what type of character we should create. Dwarves seem to be the high favorite, long shot favorite. So we're going to go ahead. I'm going to read a little bit of the dwarves. Then I'm going to read a little bit about the type of dwarf that we actually chose. So we have a Dunwar dwarf. We have a forged dwarf. So it depends on which one we want, and we'll go through that in a second. So the very first thing I want to make mention of is the fact that this is a general idea of the picture of a dwarf. As an example, this one happens to be of the Dunwar. We will be creating one that's different than this, different than the picture itself. So I've gone ahead and created that. The name of this dwarf, based on your guys' feedback of names, is Haggis Coalfoot. It's a little mix of a couple people's suggestions mixed in with a little bit of my own spin on it, and that is the name, Haggis Coalfoot. So he is a forge dwarf. So we'll be reading this second section of the dwarf area. And then of course we'll be taking a look at the skills to see what which two we have to have in, mandatory, at least two of these when we go to pick our skills. And then we'll move on from there, okay? So we're gonna go ahead, and again, just so you guys know, I didn't mention this already, but he's this individual will be a male. So we will have a female orc sage, and then we will have a male dwarf. That's going to be really cool. And we'll talk about the class of that dwarf in a second. All right, so dwarves are short of stature but stocky of build. With powerful muscles despite their small size, they seem to age only a little more slowly than humans. But once they reach their gray-haired old age, they can remain fit and vigorous for over a century. Dwarven skin tones range from a dark slate gray through as fair as alabaster. Their hair and beards for dwarves are often very proud of their beards, tend to be black, brown, or copper, red, turning white with age. Now, we're going to go ahead and just read into the Forged Dwarves section because we are not a Dunwar dwarf, so we're going to move down to here. So, during the Dragon Wars, the dwarves of Ythrite's Forge were conquered and enslaved by the Dragon Lord Avox, only to be freed by a human knight named Lady Yespit. Since that time, dwarves and humans have lived side by side in the free city of Forge. The dwarves of Forge are of Dunwar origin, but over the centuries they have acquired a rather different character. While many Forge dwarves resent the presence of humans in their city, all have grown accustomed to dealing with and working alongside humans and some of the other races as well. More than their Dunwar cousins, the dwarves of Forge have a kin, mercantile sense, while able to parlay their superlative skill as craftsmen into a comfortable living and considerable wealth. While the fact that Forge is now answerable to human lords is a sting to the dwarven honor, no Forge dwarf would ever countenance abandoning the city. The volcanic mountain that plays host to the city, Ythrite's Forge, is sacred to the dwarves. Forged dwarves maintain the shrines and mysteries of their sacred home, easily balancing their most ancient traditions and a new modern world. Despite the occasional friction between the humans and dwarves living in Forge, dwarves have much closer ties to humans than the Dunwar do. Forge dwarves also maintain close ties to their cousins in the North Mountains, and dwarf pilgrims often travel back and forth between the two societies. All right, so there we go. That's a little bit of a backstory on the Forge dwarves that we are going to be creating a character through. Dwarf names. Dwarves are an ancient race, and they take great pride in their lineage and ancestors. Most dwarves proudly carry the name of their clan or family, in addition to the name given to them by their parents. However, outcast Dunwar dwarves often eschew the names of their ancestors when they leave dwarven lands or take up new names that are more befitting their new lives. All right, so the name that we've already chosen here is Haggis Coalfoot. The dwarven skills, we'll talk about that now. So the rough mountain homes of the dwarves teach them athletics and endurance from a young age. Dwarves are famously as stubborn as the mountains, too, and their willpower is second to none. All dwarven cultures value craftsmanship, and all young dwarves learn the history of their ancestors. And with their numbers sadly reduced, too many of their youth must take up arms and learn the military trade. So here are a few different keyword skills that we're going to have to pick 2 at least when we pull over to create the skills section of our dwarf. So we've already got that covered. We're going to move past this and go to the step 2, which is our class. And we've gone through here, and again, thanks to your guys' suggestions, I was able to go ahead in advance and make a selection. I did have a few people mention that we should do the bard. I actually do think the bard thing would be kind of cool, but I actually thought there was a different one that I really thought fit the theme of Legacy of Dragonholt, and every single time I took a quick look at this insane box and the amazing artwork on it, I just thought of Wilderness, and immediately it made me want to choose to have a Wildlander. So we've gone ahead and chosen to have our dwarf as a class be a Wildlander. So let's go ahead and read a little bit about that. Terrinoth was once a great kingdom, but no longer. War and disaster have left haunted ruins where once there were great cities. Even prosperous villages are one bad harvest from oblivion, and the realm is dotted with failed farms and the crumbling remnants of human civilization. Terrinoth remains overwhelmingly a wild and untamed land. Its rolling hills are unspoiled, its plains wave with wild grasses, its rivers and lakes run clear and pristine. Its forests rise deep and proud, places where few dare to tread. Those few are called Wildlanders. Wildlanders are hardy. They're independent men and women able to vanish into the wilderness for weeks or months on end, living comfortably off the land. Some turn their skills to fur trapping, hunting, or logging for a little extra coin and creature comforts, but they seldom truly need to return to civilization at all. Some Wildlanders act with the authority of one of the barons or even the citadel itself, patrolling the wild places for bandits, poachers, or monsters that could threaten the baronies. In most cases, they simply deal with the problem on the spot, but from time to time, one of these Wildlanders will emerge from the forest and report a threat too large to be tackled solo. Ha! I love the fact they mentioned the word solo at the end of that. All right, so we're moving on here to the skills section in the class for Wildlander skills. As you can see, it says right here, Wildlanders use archery and survival to keep themselves fed and healthy in the wild. Even with these skills, their lives are tough and they need endurance to survive. Wildlanders are adept at moving through the wilderness homes, using awareness and stealth to find and sneak up on prey or to escape from enemies. Climbing trees, forging rivers, and scaling mountains are all made easier thanks to Wildlander's skill at athletics. So again, we have to pick 2 of these skills. We've got archery, survival, endurance, awareness, stealth, and athletics. So we'll move on. We're just remembering this section here that we have to have 2 of those skills when we finish creating our character. We're going to move into our wonderful physical description, personality, and ideals as well as our background. So let's talk a little bit about that. Let's talk a little bit about Haggis Coalfoot's background. So Haggis Coalfoot, first off, he is in his late 40s. Okay, so Haggis Coalfoot is in his late 40s. He was born in a bustling city, but left at a young age due to a love of the wild and exploration, hence the class Wildlander. He has a love of hunting. It is a pastime of his, and he has lost friends doing so. So he's been hunting most of his life, which means he's good at crafting things. And he's been, he builds his own armor and things like that, at least out of pelts. But he's also, when he's gone after these beasts, some of these beasts have actually killed off some of his friends. And he carries a tooth around his neck for each beast he's slain, which has taken a friend from him. So he's constantly wearing this, or he's always got this necklace on, and it always has the tooth of the beast of which killed 1 or 2 of his friends. He's had multiple friends pass away from this, tragically. So, personality and ideals. He's determined and stubborn to do the right thing. He is a dwarf, so it does line up. He judges a book by its cover. He's stern-faced, rational thinker. He believes that trust is earned, and what doesn't kill us makes us stronger is his ideal. For physical description, he has weathered skin, and that's kind of obvious being that he's more of a hunter and likes to be out in the wild, so the sun and whatnot has gotten to his skin with time. With a hint of silver hair showing through. As he's in his late 40s, he is getting up there, so his hair is starting to change to silver. He doesn't seem to care, and he's letting it happen. A fresh scar he has a fresh scar across his cheek, so he's very recently been in a fight of which a beast was able to tear a scar across his cheek. So there's proof that he has tackled some pretty tough stuff out in the wild. His clothes are made of pelts, like I mentioned before, and were crafted by him. So as he killed these beasts, whether with friends or after these friends went down in the fight, he used the pelts in order to craft armor and clothes in general for himself. So he's very, very capable of survival and surviving on his own. And he also carries a crossbow as his weapon of choice across his neck, right next to that necklace of teeth that's just hanging right close by. So that's essentially kind of the physical description, personality ideals, and background of our Forge Dwarf, Haggis Coalfoot. And again, he is a Wildlander. His age is 46. That's what we're going to put him at, an age of 46. And he is a male. Again, we haven't talked about the stamina. We're going to do that in a second. And of course, I want your guys' feedback in the comments below. If you think anything should change, we should modify anything, add anything, take something away. Let me know what you think. But that's what we've got for now. We're going to move past, or I should say we're going to move right into step number 4, which is choosing your skills. So this is where it gets fun. So I, again, have already gone ahead and started to choose the skills that best align with the background story, the personality, the ideals, the physical description, again, with his race, his class, his age, all that kind of stuff. So what I ended up coming up with for Haggis Coalfoot is willpower is going to be his big one here. So where is willpower? He's definitely got that. So in his mental skills category, he has willpower, which represents your mental and spiritual fortitude and the conviction you hold in your heart to carry through with your goals despite the challenges life or your enemies throw at you. He definitely has that. Endurance is going to be his other one, which he absolutely has as a physical skill. Represents your ability to resist physical stress over the course of a long period of time. Having endurance means you are more able to push yourself physically or resist physical damage. Absolutely covers him very well. Archery is going to be his combat skill because remember, he's got that crossbow. So archery says it represents your training with a bow or a crossbow. As an archer, you likely prefer to stay as far from combat as possible so you can fire on your enemies from range. Now with a dwarf, they typically like to get up close and personal, as we well know, but because Haggis Coalfoot is a hunter, he does a lot more stealth killing from a distance with his prey, as he's usually hunting beasts and not so much humans, at least so far. Next up is survival. He's absolutely got the survival skill. Survival's right down here in the mental skills, represents your knowledge of the natural world and your ability to overcome the dangers of living or traveling in the wild, whether you are foraging for wild berries or predicting the weather. Absolutely. Persuasion. In terms of his social skills, he's got persuasion, which represents your ability to alter another's opinions or perceptions of a social situation. For example, you might be able to persuade a vendor to lower her prices or convince a guard to allow you unfettered passage through a gate. So again, he's very stern. He knows what he wants. He's trying to do the right thing, and he can persuade people into going and getting that thing that he wants. He also has the skill of craftsmanship from the utility skills, which says represents your ability to build, repair, or dismantle any number of wares. Your craft of choice might be tailored goods, wagon wheels, or even armor and weaponry. Absolutely 100% lines up with our description of him. And lastly, I chose awareness. And awareness is, where is awareness? Awareness is over, I think I just lost my place here. Oh, there it is, in mental skills. It represents your ability to observe your surroundings. Be aware means you are more likely to notice changes in your surroundings or if something or someone reverse that, is sneaking up on you. And that's 100% something that he got from being in the wild, hunting prey, having prey hunting him and his other dwarves that were with him at the time. He's got a keen awareness. So those are the different traits that I chose. Now, what you'll notice is in the previous video when we talked about the first character, Sharog, which is our sage, now she had a total of 8 skills we chose, and we ended up having on her 10 stamina in the end. So remember how this is calculated. You always get 5 skills for free, essentially. Then we get 14 as base stamina. If we're playing with 2 characters, you get an extra 2 stamina added to each of the characters. So essentially 14 goes to 16. Then at that point, it's just a matter of how many skills do you want past 5. So Haggis Coldfoot currently has willpower, endurance, archery, survival, persuasion, corruption, and awareness. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 2 past the 5. So 2 times 2 is 4. So 4 is how much stamina off of 16 that is going to be subtracted. So 12. So at the end of the day, when we go to head here and we actually create our character sheets, the max amount for Haggis Coldfoot for stamina will be 12, and then we'll be adding all of the different skills that I just mentioned onto the sheets. Now, you're noticing I'm not doing this in real time with you right now. I wanted to make sure that once we got them completely locked down, as well as receive your feedback, because I'd really like to know what you guys think about the character, whether you'd like to add something, take something away, change something, or whether you think it's perfect and we can just run with it. I want to make sure before I finalize the sheet with what we've chosen that you guys have your say. So there will absolutely be that opportunity. Please let me know in the comments below what you'd like him to do. Now, what this does is actually ends our complete character creation at this point. Of course, the next step is to fill in the major character sheets with the information we just discussed: skills, experience, items, stamina, personality, ideals, physical description, and background. We'll do that, or at least I'll do that outside of this. So that will cover this whole character creation book, which is perfect. If I come back over here to the rule book, the very last couple steps here in the setup say to prepare the story tracking sheet. So on the story tracking sheet located on the back cover of this document, record the following information. This is something else I'll do outside of the video because it's very simplistic, and then that way I can show you when we come back into the playthrough. So you begin the game with 100 gold. Gold can be used to purchase items and pay for training during your adventures. If you are playing with multiple heroes, gold is shared among all the heroes. So we get 100 gold standard no matter how many heroes we have. You begin the game with 2 fame. Your fame increases as you become more well known. That makes sense. Or your efforts are acknowledged by nobility or townsfolk. Like gold, fame is shared by all heroes. Leave all story points unmarked. Story points will be marked during your adventures to track decisions you've made. Let's take a quick look, just so you guys are aware of what this is referring to. It's talking about the story tracking sheet right here. So we're gonna go ahead and be adding our 2 heroes here. Again, you can have a max of 6 if you so choose. We're doing 2. Our fame here is going to start at 2. Our gold is going to start at 100. I will have this printed out so it's not on the back of the book. And then, of course, all these story points are going to be unmarked until we actually get to a point where a game says we're going to be marking them up to mention that we've accomplished or achieved certain story points. And there's a note section here as well. Again, I will fill this out off camera. That will cover step number 2. So then only the remaining step left is going to be to begin your first quest. So that quickly you get into it. Now, I do want to let you know that it took me probably about half an hour or so, maybe 40 minutes or so off camera to create my character, make that backstory, pick their skills. So these videos are kind of giving you an overview of that in a quicker format. It'll probably take people, you know, if you were sitting with a bunch of friends, you could probably bounce ideas off each other quicker and get them done faster. Or if you're just creating, you don't have to create 2 characters. You can also just go with 1. The game does allow for just 1 person, but I wanted to show a little bit of the dynamics of 2 characters going at the same time and being part of a kind of a party. So anyway, the very last step is the one we're all waiting for, which is begin the first quest. So during your adventures, you'll be instructed to read specific entries in the quest book. When instructed to read an entry, you must You might wish to record the entry number on the tracking sheet for that quest, so that's just a reference. You may reread that entry anytime that you've previously read at any time, so you can reread it anytime you want just for reference. And to complete the setup and begin the first quest, find the 2 New Roads quest book and read entry 1000. So what we'll be doing in the next video is we'll be going to the box. We'll be grabbing 2 New Roads, which is the quest book in here. We'll be pulling that out. We'll be starting to read from there. The really cool thing about the rules, and something I'm not going to cover in a rules overview, I normally do a specific rules overview in most of my showcases. There's an area of this book that actually states that rules and sidebars are actually a part of the very first scenario we do, meaning that first scenario is meant to teach you how to play the game. It says in the 2 New Roads quest book, you will notice a number of rules sidebars. These sidebars are written to teach new players how to play. You don't need to read the remainder of this rulebook to play. The rule sidebars in the first quest will teach you the rules as they become relevant. I love that. So in other words, you don't need to just read this book, even though it's really short, in order to understand everything, although you can reference it if you feel. But at the end of the day, the game is going to teach you as you play when you need to know something. The reminder of this rulebook contains the rules glossary, or the remainder, sorry, of this rulebook contains the rules glossary. If questions arise that are not answered by the rule sidebars in the 2 New Roads quest book, refer to the rules guide or rules glossary to find the complete rules. So very straightforward. I think this is going to be really cool to just dive in head first into this world and really get into it. So what I'm going to be doing in the future playthroughs here is we're going to be turning up the volume a little bit. We're going to have a little bit of ambiance going on here. It'll be really cool. And we're going to go on an adventure, and we're going to see where it takes us. We're going to see what we find. And again, this playthrough is only going to be playing through 2 New Roads. I don't know how far into it I'll go. I may do the entire thing. I may do half of it. It depends on the length of the whole thing and how much people are enjoying it. But just so that you know, there will be spoilers, obviously, for that first quest book. But that's, again, just the first quest book, and it's made essentially to be a tutorial of how to play the game. So it shouldn't ruin anything major for you. Hope you guys will join me in that quest. Can't wait to get it started. Let me know in the comments below if you're excited as I am. Give me a like, and let me know that you're in full support of a campaign of Legacy of Dragonholt. I will see you in the next episode. Thanks for watching, and keep on rolling solo.